Hi, guys. Welcome back. Listen, there's fires burning through the Palisades, and it looks like there's hundreds of thousands of people that have to evacuate, and even more that are going to be evacuating. God, why do you suck so bad? Why do I suck so bad? Could you imagine waking up and it's the last day before your house burns down? Well, a couple days ago, these people were waking up, and now there's no house to wake up to.
My hometown burnt to a crisp about 2 days ago in the Palisades fire, and I am so shocked that so many people and so many people online are mocking it practically. They deserved it. Karma. They don't deserve empathy. There's people looting the houses, starting more fires in the area. So there was a video of someone throwing gasoline on the fire a few blocks away from my house. Eat the rich. The crazy thing is, me and most people I know in my neighborhood are not the rich you think we are. My mom's a real estate agent. I live in a tiny apartment in a city with a normal job with student loans. Like, seeing everything being destroyed and then people online cheering it on. I wish I was as rich as you think I am. These No one deserves this. Even rich people don't deserve this. I'm not even the rich you think I am. So please stop. It's
She brings up a good point. You should have empathy for people, regardless of how much money they have or don't have in their bank account. And I think you need to remember that we're supposed to care not only about the poor, but for everybody. And in many cases, some of these people probably have a lot of money, but still, what she says is true. We need to care about everybody, regardless of how much or how little money they have. And remember, if your house burnt down, there's a lot of memories there for you that can't be replaced.
Curfews are now in effect for the Eaton and the Palisades fire areas. And anyone caught during curfew hours could face a $1,000 misdemeanor fine, or even there were 20 people arrested allegedly for looting. Who are the people? We had another fire pop off just today. Apparently, Governor Newsom is starting an investigation into why there was a water shortage, prohibiting the fire department to be able to even fight the fires.
Governor Newsom will make it all better. Yay, Governor Newsom!
Why are Pacific Palisades on fire? I'm very suspicious because it reminds me of Maui. Do you remember how people were talking about Maui a couple of days before they sprayed a lot and it seemed like it was some kind of metal and then the flames were out of control? That's what it reminds me of right now when I'm watching these videos of Pacific Palisades.
Why?
And of course, they're going to blame it on Santa Ana winds. But it's completely out of control. And after what we went through with Maui, I'm very suspicious. Is there a land grab? So many questions.
I heard the winds were like 80 to 100 miles per hour. And let's be honest, even if there was a fire on the other side of a 5 or 6 lane highway, 100-mile-per-hour winds could easily throw some embers to the other side of the road. So I think whenever there's winds that strong, it's going to be a real scary fire. And it is a scary fire. Okay, this guy's was about somebody that apparently the neighbors caught, and he was trying to start another fire. Tell me down in the comments what you think should happen to people that start fires when there's already a fire emergency going on. Be careful, people are starting fires in LA. Put it down! Put down the match! Grab the cigarette from him!
He started the West Hills fire because that was started at a parking lot. He's going to come over here and light up this area.
Okay, it says here, my neighbors noticed someone trying to light our neighborhood on fire and called the police.
Oh my
Isn't that
gosh.
something?
No, this is crazy. I
Yeah,
can't
he
even
was-
believe it because
wasn't
I'm
When the
like,
cops arrived, they found fire starter, blow torches, etc. on him, questioned him, and arrested him immediately. I still think if you get half a dozen people like this in every state to go to every foresty area out there, you could really do some incredible damage.
I'm
Like
like
a 30-year-old guy, you know.
crazy because I'm like, how does a fire jump literal cities?
I know, I can understand there, but all the way over.
They believe he started the West Hills fire. Please don't hesitate to report any suspicious activity.
Everything is gone. My mom had just enough time to pick up her dogs, her purse, and get out. There was no time to evacuate.
Aw.
Everything is gone. My childhood photos, my yearbooks, my everything, my toys I was going to give my kids. Every sentimental thing went up. And my mom,
photos, everything.
she had no time to grab anything, okay? Like, it came so fast. Like, this is why people were abandoning their cars in the middle of the road, because the flames were moving so fast, there wasn't any time. So I can't believe it. Everything is gone. My whole hometown is gone. This is how it feels to lose absolutely everything. It is a feeling I would never wish upon my worst enemy.
It's so sad when people are going through this, but she said something there that really does ring true. Have you ever had such a horrible experience or in a horrible day that you tell yourself, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy? That's exactly why you should have empathy for these people, because even if you think you hate people that are successful, there's a lot of good in people. And whenever we're suffering, that's when we should feel for other people and have empathy for them. Again, despite how much or how little they might have. Look at this beautiful house the day before the fire. Look at that wine cellar. Wow. Beautiful marble.
Would not help me. They said, "Oh, is your house on fire?" I said, "All the shrubbery is, so I can't even leave the house." And they just wouldn't even come. So I'm just letting you know, they just ignored me and they said there's nothing they can do. They have a lot of problems right now. So this is our house right now.
That is scary. It says here on the screen, my mom tried so hard to save our house, but the fire spread so fast. She barely made it out to the car with her dogs in time. Everything of material value to us is gone. Keep your loved ones close because everything can be replaced except for them. And this can happen to anybody in the blink of an eye. It's really, oh,
One of the worst, just most disgusting parts about these fires is State Farm canceled 72,000 fire insurance policies in California last year in June. So 1,600 of the policies were in the Palisades. These people don't have their insurance. They were forced to join the FAIR plan, which is like state insurance. And it's just, that's bullshit. In my opinion, that is bullshit. Like, you cancel people's insurance and then just a devastating fire happens.
So I heard a little bit from the insurance point of view. There was an insurance person on one of the videos that I watched, and he answered a comment, and he said basically California set some law about a year or so ago that made it where insurance companies could not raise their prices. And I assume with insurance company, whenever property values go up and stuff, they have to raise their prices accordingly. And since they could no longer raise their prices, and the Santa Ana winds makes it where all those people that live in the hills are constantly in danger of fires, encroaching on their properties. They had to make the decision to leave. Now, I'm not on their side. I'm just saying that's the side that they portrayed. But no matter how you look at it, it sounds like the perfect recipe to screw people. And now, people in California, you're going to really get to see what socialism is kind of like because now you've got like 500,000 people that have these policies with this state plan. And from what I understand, the state plan doesn't have to have a certain amount of money on hand. So they're probably going to try to reach out and get some relief from the federal government, I'm imagining.
As a lot of people know, insurance companies are dropping out of certain states like Florida and California for natural disasters. Here in California, I can tell you fire insurance is the big one that everybody's talking about. People that live in the foothills where all the wildfires are happening, their companies, their insurance policies are getting dropped. And one couple on CNBC.com said their next quote was as high as $2,000 a month. That's insane. So naturally, even though a lot of people that currently live in the hills or want to relocate up there are having second thoughts, I'm curious what this does to sales and ultimately property values as we go forward and what the government tends to do about it.
Would you be stubborn and want to move back, or would you be the type that would say, this is a sign I'm never going to live there again?
Apparently 3 weeks ago, State Farm and every insurance company that has anything to do with motor vehicles and houses and like life insurance, they all just dropped everybody in the LA area. Like, that's crazy corruption right there. But also I found out it's the same shit that happened in Hawaii when all those fires happened. They basically all got dropped, and then about a few weeks later, all that property got bought up by big corporations. Same with North Carolina, right before the hurricanes, and bro, all these shits. I'm starting to realize most of the natural disasters are all like insurance dumps, and I'm over here like, man, I'm telling you, Luigi Mangione, I appreciate you.
Are moments like this the perfect way to create more Luigi Mangionis in the future?
I have one question. If this is
Okay.
normal and it happens every year, which is true, fires do happen every year, but this one question, just one question.
Spit it out.
And I need you to make it make sense. Are you ready? Are you
Yes.
gonna comment down below and make it make sense, okay? Since
it
this
out.
happens all the time in California, then how come right before the fire, all of a sudden, the insurance companies canceled the fire insurance, saying that there's too many fires and they can't do the fire insurance anymore? It's never been this huge before, ever. Right before this, all these gigantic fires, right before that, they canceled the fire insurance. Why now?
I think they actually left a year ago, not a couple weeks ago.
Things are getting hotter than a fart in a flame. But don't you find it interesting that houses like, let's say, for example, P. Diddy, his house was completely burned to the ground, incinerated, nothing left, just 2 or 3 days before the final investigation? Now, on a completely unrelated subject, the new investigation for his house would have actually turned up a lot of names and more evidence for his case. On another unrelated subject, insurance companies like State Farm canceled their fire policies 3 months ago, and they weren't the only ones. Now today, the governor, mayor, I'll be honest, I didn't catch his title, but he put in a moratorium saying that he is blocking any non-renewals and cancellations for fire. On another completely unrelated subject, are you telling me now that the government has always had the power to enforce insurance policies paying out? Again, on a non-related subject, why are the insurance companies not being forced to pay out in Florida, North Carolina, for flood? Now, if you don't know, homeowners insurance does not cover flood damage. You have to buy that separately. But people in Florida know to get flood insurance. At least I hope they do. On another unrelated subject, people like KK, Kim Kardashian, I don't even like to say her name because I just have that little respect for the woman. Her, $60, $70 million mansion just poof, gone. It's toast. I don't feel bad for her, not for 1 second. I am not shedding a tear for her because the money that she's already got in the bank that wasn't toast, she'd go out and buy a whole new house tomorrow. Again, not a related subject, but people like you, like me, on like regular incomes where we don't have millions stashed in the bank, what are they supposed to do if that moratorium is not made retroactive? What the hell are they supposed to do?
Interesting. Think about it.
I want to talk about the LA fires. And I wasn't going to speak on it because it don't got nothing to do with me until I seen that all those insurance companies canceled those people's insurance. When you think about that, it just shows you how those corporations and these insurance companies are really money hungry, that they would do that to those people knowing that they need that insurance to actually cover the coverage of their houses, you know, the stuff that they lost. And it's just crazy that something like that would happen. But it also brings you back to reality and shows you that when something like this happens, worry about yourself, because nobody else is going to worry about you.
It sounds to me like the insurance companies started leaving California, at least this area of California, about a year ago. But some people are saying it was 3 weeks ago, and some people are making it sound like it's literally the day before the fire. If you guys know, let us know down below. But until then, do you guys want to take a walk? Let's go. Let's take a walk together. Venters, have you guys ever heard of a super scooper? No, it's not that giant claw thing in your cat's litter box designed to pick up Foo-Foo's poo-poo. The super scoopers are those giant planes that pick up to 1,500 gallons of water directly from the ocean, and then they throw that water with a lot of precision, from what I understand, right onto the places that it's needed. And right now there's 2 of those planes being used nonstop for these Palisades fires out there in Los Angeles. Well, check this out. Apparently one of these planes got damaged by one of these, civilian drones, right? Somebody had a drone up there and it ended up damaging one of these planes. Anyway, to make matters worse, not only was that plane grounded for repairs, but because this accident occurred and this collision happened midair, they ended up grounding both of those planes and probably some helicopters too for, I don't know, X amount of hours. So like usual, they got on TV and kind of started making some threats to whoever owned that drone, and they're probably going to be able to find out who owned that. And it sounds to me like they've got some punishment coming. So apparently, let me tell you a little bit about these super scoopers. Apparently one of them, if not both, were actually given to us from Canada. And when I say given, they were not given. They've come from Canada to actually help us with these wildfires. So I suppose the first thing would be to tell the Canadians how much we love and appreciate them for thinking about us in our time of need. I think that's the one cool thing why when you're on your walk, you should try to be friendly with your neighbors and stuff, because, one of these days you're going to want to take off out of town for a weekend or maybe even for a week. And if you can befriend your neighbors and get to the point where your neighbors will keep an eye on your home, that could be a real blessing. I don't know if this still happens, but I remember back in the day, people would warn about giant delivery trucks and moving trucks going into people's front yards. And they would come over when they found out that you were out of town for an extended period of time, and they would literally clean your house out and steal everything. And a lot of times when neighbors would see these moving trucks, they wouldn't think anything of it because they didn't really have a relationship with people. Well, back in the day, a lot of times they would have troubles because the neighbors would call and say, "Hey, did you know there's some sort of moving truck outside of your house?" And a lot of times they could call the authorities and arrest those people. Nowadays, people don't even know their neighbor directly next door to them on any side, and these bad things can happen. But when it comes to our neighbors to the North Canada, we know they have our back, and I'm sure they know we have their back as well. And if they ever are the 51st state, darn it, welcome home, right? I thought it was amazing. They showed one of these super scoopers go into the water, and it looks like something that would destroy most planes, but they're literally able to just take, giant scoops of water out of the ocean and throw it right on the fire. So pretty darn impressive. I always wonder how they can even fly with all that heavy water on board. But hey, as long as they can do it, that's pretty good. By the way, they came on and they said, hey, if you have a drone operating while we're in a wildfire type of emergency situation, and you're in the area of the planes and helicopters that are going up, that's a federal crime. It's interfering with fighting a wildfire. You can get up to 12 months in prison. It's a $75,000 fine. And once again, it caused aircraft to be grounded. So that was the main reason for the commotion. When I heard that it was a drone, I don't know about you guys, but the first thing that came into my mind was, is it one of these New Jersey drones? What is this? By the way, tell me if I'm wrong, but I heard what sounded like a reporter stating that a homeless guy or a man, I'm not going to confirm if he was homeless or not, but apparently a guy actually started one of the fires that they're currently dealing with now. So maybe he was homeless, but maybe he was just a ne'er-do-well, right, that wanted to cause trouble. But either way, it goes back to what I was saying the other day. We have a situation with all of our forested areas around the country where any yahoo with a cigarette or a match or a lighter could really cause a lot of damage in the blink of an eye. And for people to have caught this guy doing that, I think that's wonderful that they jumped into action, but at the same time, it just makes you wonder, did all these fires start because some people got together and started them? I don't exactly know how it started, but you could really make things worse. And imagine if you had a team of cohorts that were like, let's do something bad. Let's set Los Angeles on fire. I could see a team of people doing a lot of bad things. And now we know what California's weakness is. They just don't really have much water in the system. And what is this going to do going forward? I mean, are they going to need to pull even more water out of the Colorado River system? And if they do, is the water levels that they always show through Lake Mead, is that going to go even lower and lower? I don't know if you guys have ever seen that, but they'll show water levels for Arizona and California, and they always show it, and it looks like it's getting lower and lower and practically empty. And then they'll have a good season or two of rain, and then it kind of fills back up again. But apparently, I think California's a little bit in a drought this year, so who knows? I was watching this show called Glenn Beck. If you're a Glenn Beck fan, maybe let me know down in the comments. But if you are a Glenn Beck fan, check out his show today, because he was saying that Mayor Karen Wells has an interesting past. And they showed a reporter there asking her if she had anything to say to the people, because she was busy out in Ghana instead of being here for her people while they were going through this problem. And I wish I could tell you she said something profound, but she just refused to talk or answer any questions. And I guess I can't blame her. The reporter was coming at her pretty aggressively, and he wasn't exactly the nicest reporter. But at the same time, it sure would be nice if sometimes leadership actually had some answers to give people. Seems like they always come out and they always toot the company line, but they never really are able to ad-lib and just kind of have a conversation with their constituents and the people they represent. It sounds to me like you can get in a lot of trouble in this world, whether it's at the government level or even just as an individual, if you cut corners. I think that's what happened in California. I think they cut a lot of corners hoping for the best. The problem with hoping for the best is you should still be prepared for the worst. And if you're prepared for the worst and it never happens, then you're in pretty darn good shape. But if you always go through life hoping for the best, then anytime there's any type of setback, it's going to be really a big downfall for you. So you can look at this as a governmental level, like, hey, because you guys didn't keep track of the water, you made decisions that were pro-fish, anti-human, now you've got all these people that have had their homes burnt down, right? You can look at it as a high level like that, or you can even look at it at your own personal level. If you're the type that every time you get a couple $100 in your pocket, you immediately go and blow it, you're living by the seat of your pants, and one day you're going to have something catastrophic happen to your vehicle or to your home. Ask a homeowner how much stuff randomly goes wrong with your home. It seems like something goes wrong with your home when you're a homeowner every other month. So those people that are homeowners have to get used to having a couple extra bucks lying around, you know? On another note, you as an individual, how many times have you been preparing to pay your rent, and then all of a sudden something happens and all of a sudden you're short on your rent? Now, I'd be willing to bet that when people get in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, that those things don't pop up as much. But when you talk to somebody that's in their 20s, God, those things pop up every other month for young people. That's why you got to try to make good decisions. You got to try to use your imagination to guess what's going to happen in the future. That's why a lot of times people will go and they'll buy a used car. They'll buy a beater, so to speak, right? So you got this old jalopy car and you're like, hey, I didn't spend too much money, and that's good. But one thing you should do when you save money by buying a cheap used car is you should just know in your head, hey, I'm gonna probably have to pay about $1,500 worth of repairs on this vehicle over the next 3 or 4 years. And then you need to actually start saving for those situations. Because otherwise you might as well just get a car that has a car payment and a warranty with it. So dealing back with this super scooper from Canada, CMUM802 says, thanks Canada for sending this plane to help with the fires. And I agree. Canada, thank you so much. I don't think any time in my lifetime, I don't think I've ever seen a fire that was this horrible. When you see them out in the middle of nowhere, it's sad because, you know, they really can burn up a lot of acreage of forested land. But when it happens in people's backyards in a city like LA, I don't know, that just seems even worse because you're seeing people's homes just go up in flames. And for many people, they were living in those homes forever. They were showing Billy Crystal's home. He and his wife had lived there since, I think they said 1979. So imagine living at a place for 43, 44 years, and then all of a sudden it's gone. When you live at a place that long, you literally know every nook and cranny and every corner of the house. That's awful. B77862 says, put the drone owners in jail. This is extremely dangerous, irresponsible, and idiotic. I'll tell you what, I bet that drone owner feels really scared right now because he's probably waiting for somebody to knock on his front door and take him to jail. As a matter of fact, he probably got in his car, he probably called Grandma out there in Nebraska, and he probably said, I'll be coming to see you, Grandma. I'll be there by the end of tomorrow. And he probably took off. Now, here's the one thing we got to remember. Was he in the wrong for flying his drone up there? Yes. Was he doing it for all the wrong reasons, including YouTube and TikTok purposes? Probably. But remember, he's not a horrible human being. He made a mistake. He got lucky because it didn't hurt anybody. The plane is fixed. But the reality is, it might have made it that much harder to save the homes because those planes were grounded for a while because of this. So again, if you're going to give them a fine, give them a fine. I don't know if you have to throw them in jail or anything, but obviously I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it. This next comment is nice. It says, as a Canadian, our firefighters are coming to help Americans because when Canada needs help, America is always there to help us. That's what best friends do. Who said we were your best friend, Canada? We don't want to be stuck on poutine and your maple syrup forever. We're still going to throw the tariff charge on you. No, I agree completely with the tariff charge and the fact that we can still be best friends. I don't care if they do the tariff charge or not. It's one of those things that I had never thought about my whole life. I look at Canada for what it is. It's basically another California up there. I don't know if we need to charge you tariffs or not. If it saves us billions of dollars down here, great. If it costs us billions of dollars, oh well. All I know is I think I will take a little bit of that maple syrup and the poutine. I've never had poutine, but it sounds delicious, doesn't it? Holy moly. Okay, in order for you to use our super scooper, you have to agree to 38,000 barrels of maple syrup and 38 million servings of poutine annually between the two countries. I don't understand why somebody doesn't open up a poutine shop down here. You know that everybody in Canada loves poutine. What are the odds that all of a sudden on this side of the border, nobody would like it? It just seems to me like an easy way to have a really incredible business. Lily, learn how to make poutine, cross the border here, and open up a poutine shop. And then put a picture of Putin on the outside. So people will be like, poutine? Oh, shit. Give me some of that poutine. Poutine. Hey, what does that young man want? He wants some poutine. Ah! I'll take 2 shots of maple syrup with a little poutine on the side, please. Sure, coming right up. That'll be $18.48. And then after tax, it'll be $22.84. God, what's up with all that tax? It's Canadian tax. Oh, I get you. By the way, did you guys hear that apparently Mark Zuckerberg is going to quit censoring on Facebook by dropping the fact checkers? Those were the most screwy fact checkers, by the way, because everything that they deemed to be false and misrepresentative was actually right spot on, and everything that they thought was valid science was actually propaganda BS. They ought to come out and they ought to apologize. Somebody somewhere thought that it was okay to literally censor all the conservatives for a time being in this country on places like Facebook and YouTube. And meanwhile, if you had liberal thoughts, those things were allowed to fly. I think it would be great if we had some liberal leaders or whoever caused Facebook to go that way in the first place. I think it would be great if they actually apologized. We had a couple years there, and it's probably still happening now, where half of us can't really talk without being censored. That should not be allowed in America. I'm surprised that it's allowed, period. Mr. Tatak says, so California don't have a super scooper plane, ? We have to rely on Canada. So you don't have any water on the tap so we can fight the fire. All the insurance companies have left, so they won't insure these poor people, or at least some of these people probably didn't have the proper insurance, right? And now we come to find out that these super scoopers that can help you get rid of a fire had to come down all the way from Canada and California, despite all those taxes you collect every single day of every single year. You guys didn't have any of these super scoopers available. We had to actually go bother Canada for it. So obviously, Mr. Tatak, you find that tacky, and I would totally agree with you. Now we owe Canada, and we got to kiss their butt forever because California doesn't even have good enough leadership to have one of these super scoopers. How about this? How about we get rid of some of those elected officials that aren't worth a darn? And how about we use their collected monies for their salaries that they don't deserve? And how about you actually purchase not one, not two, but maybe a fleet of super scoopers? I don't even know what comes in a fleet. Get 20 of those bad boys. As a matter of fact, if that's the way to really fight fires out there, then why don't we have tons of those things available? Instead, what we do is we send out these trucks that bring a giant hose and we try to, hose things down. We ought to just have multiple fleets of planes that could just come one after the other and drop water or fire retardant down. Some of these plans that we have seem like they would be so easy to implement, but the problem with every darn thing that you want to do is that these states, whether it's California, New York, or even my state, Arizona, they always have to create these boards to overlook things. And then you always find out that there's, something going on, funny business, so to speak, right? Unscrupulous acts. There's always this shit, this bureaucracy and red tape. And just like in California, they raise $800 billion with a B, and they can't even make a dent in the homeless population. I mean, at what point are we going to say no more taxes? You got to make do on what you have now. And I think we ought to go into some of these places, find out what these officials are getting paid. And you know how you and I can lose our job to somebody fresh out of college that's willing to work for half the price? Well, I'm sure there's people out there that would be willing to be governor and mayor for half the price. Why don't we make all positions available to somebody that's willing to do the job without milking the system? How much does Karen Bass make every single year off of the taxpayers in a country that she doesn't even like? I mean, why don't we, I don't know how Californians, I don't know how you guys put her in charge in the first place, Los Angelinos or whatever you guys like to call yourselves. I don't know how you put somebody like that in charge in the first place. Why don't we get some people out there that actually want to earn their paycheck? Holy moly. You know what's horrible about this? People will say, Jesse, I don't like how you and President Trump are making this a political thing. You don't understand. It's because of that political party there and the leadership that they've made it where the obvious things to have, like a super scooper, we have to go to another country for. So let me ask you this, brainiacs out there. How does Canada have these super scoopers and we don't? How does Russia have these missiles that go the speed of sound, or 10 times the speed of sound, and we don't? How does China have all these people trying to do cyber hacking 50-to-1 ratios over us, yet we spend 10 times more money? None of that makes sense. How come you hear all about, I don't know if you guys have heard about this, but apparently in China, they have giant waves of drone upon drone, just these giant farms of drones that are ready to attack us at any moment. We don't have that. Is America just a paper tiger? Are we just told how great we are because nobody ever bothered checking on it? And now we've got all these other countries that literally have all these things that are higher level than we do? How does that happen without the leadership actively stealing from people? And then it starts to hit you. Holy crap. I see what Jesse's saying now. There's no way that Canada should be better prepared for stuff than America. But there's also no way Russia should. And there's definitely no way China should. Yet in every way, shape, and form, everybody's outperforming America nowadays. I think what they need to do is put their shoes on and start going for a walk. See, if our leaders would think about putting their shoes on and going for a walk, they might be able to solve some of these problems. Instead, what they want to do is they want to get a nice wardrobe and put money in their pockets, and we all get screwed. I'll see you tomorrow.